Hey everyone, and welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Andre Seekers and Ash Paulson to discuss the recently published patents for the Nintendo Switch. So let's get started. Alright guys, so woke up this morning and all of a sudden there's this big NeoGAF post talking all about the Switch and how apparently, even though they filed back in June, the patents for the Switch have basically been published and allowed for anybody to see, and of course the guys at NeoGAF immediately picked up on that, started going through it, and I don't know about you guys, but looking at a lot of this information, like the raw data, made my eyes go cross-eyed. Made me go cross-eyed because this stuff is just so dipped and like tech speak, and I'm just like, whoa.
It doesn't help too that I am exhausted from staying up to like 3 and working in that Super Mario Run review. So I'm like looking at this, my eyes are glazing over. So I'm glad there are other people out there who were able to parse through this so we can actually discuss this.
Yeah, exactly. So fortunately we got basically the main points. I'm sure there's little details hidden in there that we didn't quite pick up on, but we'll at least get all the main stuff about these patents, and I guess let's just dive right into it because there's so many different things it's hard to even get an overall feeling all this. But I guess real quick, we're all buying that these are legit, right?
Oh, well, I mean, the patents are legit. There's no question.
Yeah, the patents can't be fake.
Yeah, I mean,
really.
The only question is how accurately does it represent the Switch? But based on how true to form it seems to be, I'm pretty confident. I mean, if not all of this, at least most of it is going to be present in the Switch, and I have a feeling all of it is going to be present in the Switch.
Yeah, I feel the same way. There's no way this could be a hoax. I mean, these are patents filed by Nintendo that were discovered now, or not discovered, published now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always possible something could change with the final retail unit, but I mean, at this point, everything is lining up, and all of this too matches up with the rumors we've been hearing from Laura K. Dale. So I don't think there's anything here that conflicts with anything we had heard from, reliable sources before.
Maybe a few of the minor nitty-gritty details, but nothing like major as far as overall ideas. Mm-hmm. And there are some of the patent pictures that show like the normal controller being in a slightly different shape. But we'll get into that later on. Let's start with the craziest bit here, which is apparently some of the images and text pertain to HMD or head-mounted display and VR. So apparently there's a way to, I guess, put the Switch screen in front of your eyes with a head-mounted display in order to, I guess, do a pseudo VR. I'm not overly familiar with VR in general and how all the different ideas work, but my guess is it's just like Nintendo future-proofing, like if we wanted to add VR, we can.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think it's Nintendo covering their bases. So the thing I just said with all this being true, I meant that as it pertains to the Switch device itself. I don't see a head-mounted display or happening anytime soon. So I think I agree with you guys. This is just them covering their bases in case they want to do that down the line.
Yeah, because I mean, they must be taking note of all the energy around VR right now, especially with PlayStation VR. And to me, this just reads as them wanting to get in, at least giving them the option to get in on that later on. But I do not expect to see anything about VR on the Switch for years.
Especially because I don't think the Switch itself, like that, the size of that screen, lends itself well to a head-mounted display. Like that would be a pretty big thing to have to strap into another device. Plus, there's the fact too. I mean, I guess we don't officially know the screen resolution, but it's only 720p, which don't get me wrong, I think is fine for the Switch's purposes. But for VR, that's pretty inadequate. I mean, it would work. It just wouldn't look great. So yeah, I think there's a few concerns here. But again, it could be future-proofing, and it may be or pertain to even potentially future Switch units, Switch 2 or Switch 3, It seems like revising consoles is all the rage these days. I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch gets in on that too. I mean, hell, Nintendo's been all about that for the handheld units for years, decades.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we all know what this is really for. This is just for the virtual console version of the Virtual Boy.
Yes! Finally! The best version of Mario Tennis, finally, we can play it again.
Mario Clash?
Mario Clash, that's right.
Yeah.
Wario Land, all that good stuff.
Legitimately, I wish I had come to the 3DS. Like, I wish they had updated those classics, like colorized them, and
I really wish they had.
Right?
Yeah, that made too much sense.
And Wario Land is supposed to be a pretty legit game. That's actually one of the few games worth owning that I don't own on my own Virtual Boy. I own Nestor's Funky Bowling instead, which actually is pretty awesome. So I don't know why I'm speaking poorly of it.
I remember playing Wario Land back in the day on Virtual Boy, and it was great. Like, I remember being impressed by it back then. So I'm sure it holds up. It's just a matter of being able to play it again.
Right.
Having dealing with the eye strain.
Yeah.
And all that. No, the Wario Land series was great back in the day, so I'm sure it was just as good because, they have a benchmark and they know how to do it. But yeah, I doubt we're going to see the Virtual Boy come back in this way.
I agree with that. Although I do think it is interesting, at the very least, whether or not the head-mounted display happens. It does show that Nintendo is at least considering it. And granted, they've kind of warmed to it more recently in recent interviews, it sounds like, where they've basically said they are looking at the technology now, whereas I think just a year or two ago they're like, yeah, we have nothing to do with it, we're not gonna touch it. So it does seem like they're warming up to it now. So who knows whether we may get something from them, whether it applies to the Switch or not.
We'll just have to see, but I mean, I'm with you though. I don't see this happening right out of the gate or even within the first 2 years or anything like that. This is something, I don't know, it feels like it's there in case VR blows up. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, that's it. They're gonna wait and see how the market shakes out. I don't think they want to waste development time or resources on it.
Yeah, and so far that seems to be the smart decision, because even PlayStation VR hasn't blown up the VR world like people said it would. Like, especially pro VR people before the release are like, it's gonna blow up, and it kind of hasn't really, and the sales aren't there. So I think Nintendo's, if that's what this is, Nintendo's kind of doing the right thing by playing it safe here.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But moving on to the rest of the Switch, we'll talk about the unit itself. The touch panel and touch screen are mentioned within the patents. So, I mean, this is again a Laura Kate Dale rumor that we talked about before, and other rumors came out in various sources that the touch there will be a touch screen for the Switch, but they didn't get into I always forget the names of these. What are the different types of
capacitive
touch?
And resistive?
Yes.
So resistive is a type the DS and 3DS use, and the gamepad. Capacitive is what pretty much all phones use these days.
And there's no mention about whether it's one or the other, but I think most people are assuming it's probably going to be capacitive, right?
There is no way it can't be
There's
capacitive.
no way.
No way. Yeah, I feel like the resistive just feels... I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it has its purposes, but I feel like even in the way Nintendo uses touchscreens now, I feel like we've kind of gone beyond it, where even Nintendo uses it mostly as, like, for virtual buttons and whatnot, where you don't need that stylus precision. And plus, they just feel antiquated, No,
I think we're in 2017 now. We will be in 2017 by the time this thing comes out, and I don't see Nintendo releasing a resistive touchscreen device in 2017. That's so backwards thinking. I mean, yeah, you get that precision with a stylus, but I just don't. In every other way, it's so much less attractive than a capacitive touchscreen, and I just feel like if they're making touch a part of the Switch's interface, there's no way they're gonna stick with resistive.
And it actually makes sense to use capacitive with the whole button press thing or alternate ways to push those buttons, because another thing that's come out from Laura Kate Dale's rumors and sources and all that is the fact that none of the games are like you can't be required to use touch. You can have it in there, but you can't have it be the only method because you don't have access to the screen when it's docked. Mm-hmm. And that makes a lot of sense to have a capacitive and just being able to touch wherever in the same way as a menu.
And here's a point to consider as a I was going to say primarily a handheld, but that's actually not true. But as a device that can be used as a handheld, I think the last thing they want you doing with it is holding this relatively massive device, with one hand while you're poking at it with the other using your stylus. I feel like that right there indicates it's going to be a capacitive they can use while holding it from the sides.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but I mean they're marketing this thing as a game console first, and obviously they want you to take this thing with you on the road and play it remotely. But if you're scratching up your screen with a stylus, it's not going to be the best thing to take with you on the go and play remotely. So I kind of feel like if they're marketing this thing as someone you want to take with you and play, and it's also a console, you're not going to want to be encouraged to kind of scuff up the screen with a stylus. So I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's not. There's no way. It's capacitive or bust, and I'm confident. Going by this patent, we know as a touchscreen, and that's something I think we all expected.
Yeah, and we've seen no sign of a stylus holder on the Switch at all. So
that's true too.
There's no reason to think that. But, touchscreen is there, so we'll see. In addition, it seems to show a fan in the dock. Although people in NeoGAF are disputing this point, so people aren't sure exactly where this fan is placed. Most think it's more in line with, potentially with Laura Kate Dale's rumors, in that there's a fan within the dock to help alleviate the heat that it will put out because it's doing more, processing.
Well, and speaking of which, isn't there something in here too that basically confirms there's a low power mode? Or
that's another thing in these patents, that there's it downclocks. The Switch will downclock itself when in mobile mode, so that and so there's more power reserve for when you're in the dock.
So that kind of all ties together. The dock thing's not a surprise to me. Again, that was something that was rumored. It's something we had expected. The fan, who knows which way that's gonna go? Like the Laura Kate's rumor sounded plausible, but I think that's also something that hasn't really been done before. Like an external fan used to cool a CPU, right? Or used to assist in cooling a CPU. The fan inside the system also is new too. Granted, like every computer has one, and even the early, what's that N-Gage, or not N-Gage, the NVIDIA thing called?
The Shield.
The Shield.
The Shield, yeah.
Even the Shields have them as well. So it makes sense in that sense for the Switch to have one as well. But that is something that's new for Nintendo. The GameCube was the first system from them that even had a fan. And they've never had a fan in the portable system. So that is also somewhat interesting, but not terribly surprising.
You're definitely going to want to keep this thing cool, because you're doing some pretty intensive gaming on a very small screen. Not super small or anything like that, but this still is very compact, so you're definitely going to want to keep it cool. And I could definitely see, if not having that extra fan within the dock, definitely increasing the temperature of the machine.
Well, a good point, too, to consider is the fact that the dock itself looks like it would trap some of that heat in there, right?
Yeah.
Like if there's not a fan.
Yeah, it does, actually. Yeah.
It's like a toaster.
Or at least some sort of vents or something.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. But kind of related to that is that there are further suggestions that lead people to believe that it will utilize USB-C, which we've heard those rumors again, and what the advantages of the USB is. The fact that Nintendo is not using their own proprietary charging device, potentially, USB-C seems like the way to go. But I've also heard today a lot of people saying, like, if it does use USB-C, this thing is wide open for a lot of hacking and
like homebrew and piracy and things like
exactly.
that. Yeah, that's inevitable anyway.
Right, exactly.
That was always going to happen. That happens with every new piece of hardware, eventually anyway.
If you want to break in hard enough, you'll find a way in. They have to include USB. Especially with their history of, well, I guess not their long history, but the fact they have the GameCube adapter out there now. If they want to make use of that, you need USB. And it's good to see that they, so to speak, that it's probably a USB-C port, just because that is where the industry is going. Plus, it's way nicer just being able to plug that cable in any which way, as opposed to filling with it 100 times, like which way is upside down or which way is right side up, right?
Well, and the fact that it already works with any other device in your home that uses USB-C, like that's so useful in my opinion. Yep. And not having to deal with Nintendo's own proprietary chargers, which, by the way, haven't really done anything to stave off piracy on their systems already.
Yep.
So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing. But I guess one bright side, maybe some silver lining, is that not all, obviously all piracy is bad, but it's not just all piracy. It also opens the door for homebrew and cool things like the Smash mods we've been seeing on Smash Wii U that don't actually open the door to any sort of piracy for the game, but just let the end user do some cool things to it.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely more net positives to using USB-C than to not using it.
For a consumer, it's all net positive.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, basically.
There is no downside for us.
True enough. Like, as soon as I heard how fast it can charge through USB-C, I'm like, well, sold.
Yeah.
That is such a good idea.
I have USB-C on my phone, and it is really nice. It charges quick, and again, I love that fact that I can plug it in any which way. I just like the fact that I'll finally have a second device that uses it, because if I forget my charger, I'm screwed, because no one else has a USB-C device out there. So I hope that this finally starts reaching, broader demographics, so I have more backup cables for when I forget my own power cord.
Well, see, if we're going down that road, we should just have them add a lightning cable to the thing too, so that those of us with iOS devices can also use our lightning cables with the Switch. Yeah. Why not, right?
That does relate to something. I'm not sure if it's on our little list here of all the things, but I did hear how there doesn't seem to be any headphone jack related into the controllers or anything else for the Switch. So in the
That's
same way
interesting.
In the
PS4
patches,
does.
I swear I thought we saw one before.
I saw from Laura Kate Dale today, with her write-up saying, or at least her tweets, saying how there doesn't seem to be one like she thought.
That would be a very interesting omission if so.
Yeah, that would be. Well, I mean, you did the analysis, Derek, on the controller. Did you not see one back then?
I don't remember seeing on the controller itself. There probably is one in the screen.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Wait, are we talking? Wait, we're talking Joy-Cons or the screen?
Yeah, we're talking the Joy-Con, not the screen.
Oh, yeah.
there-
I mean, that's not. I mean, I'm not. That's not really.
Yeah,
a
there
big
wouldn't be
surprise.
one.
Yeah.
There wouldn't need to be one in the Joy-Con. But as long as there's one in the main unit itself, there would have to be.
I'm pretty sure we've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was so confused. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've seen the headphone jack.
Sorry about that.
The Joy-Con thing, I mean, not terribly surprising. I know a lot of people want it because, well, both the gamepad and the PS4 controller have a headphone jack. So it does seem like a slight step back in that way. If you're playing at home and you want to use headphones, you're going to have to get like a wireless pair now as opposed to being able to connect it directly to your controller. So that's a downside, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, although, it does make me wonder. I own the PlayStation Pulse headphones, and those do randomly work with other devices that have USB outs, so it kind of makes me wonder if the Switch might actually work with existing wireless USB headphones. That would be pretty cool if it did.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, so...
Yeah, I mean, my PlayStation headphones work, just plug and play with my computer, but they don't work with my Wii U or Xbox One, so it's kind of a crapshoot.
Well, the next little point we have here is that it seems like it's possible to connect it to a wired internet connection when the unit is docked. So that just makes sense to me, just to have that
Yeah.
ability. There's no reason not to have it.
I assume that there just must be an Ethernet out in the dock itself then, and that you always have that dock connected, I guess, and then just when you put the Switch in the dock, does the Switch automatically connect to whatever modem you have connected to the Switch dock?
Well, I would think, I mean, all the communication is still going to be handled by the Switch itself, so...
Right, and I'm sure it'll be Wi-Fi anyway. I'm just thinking, I would think there would already have to be an Ethernet cable running into the dock for the Switch to be able to run on a wired connection when you connect it.
Yeah, I think that's it. How else would it work? Plugging into the Switch directly, you mean?
No, I'm just wondering if you have to maybe, like, if there's some setting you have to go into to switch your internet connections, within the software itself, or if the Switch automatically detects you're going from Wi-Fi mode, out and about or whatever, to wired connection mode.
I just want to stress I am really tired, so sorry if I'm not picking up on all this.
No, this is also really, this stuff is very obtuse and...
Yeah. No, I feel like, I mean, I feel like if they're going to have that, if you actually can wire it into the dock, it better switch automatically. That's the whole point of the system, right? Yeah. That'd be really annoying and inconvenient if it didn't. So I'm sure it will, because that's the whole idea of the system, where it's seamless. You can seamlessly take this with you and bring it back home. So it's cool. I've had really no issues with my Wi-Fi, like with Wii U or any of my other systems. Like, it's worked out fine for me. But I do know you do get slightly better response time, I believe, typically with a wired connection, and there's also less chance for interference. So that's good, and also probably makes it a little bit easier to do like LANs and all that fun stuff at like tournaments and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically bought one of those Wii U Ethernet adapters for Smash, specifically for Smash, and it does make a difference. So seeing that or hearing that Nintendo seems to have still given those of us who prefer wire connections that option in the Switch makes me happy, because obviously I'll be playing Smash Switch a lot, so
of course,
and I don't want to play it on Wi-Fi. So yeah, I'm glad this is apparently an included feature.
Actually, that one's kind of surprising. I'll be honest. I wouldn't have guessed that coming.
Yeah. Didn't really think about that one.
It kind of maybe ties into the whole Nintendo taking esports seriously thing, right?
It could be. I mean, maybe it's just them kind of acknowledging the fact that a lot of people are going to be playing Smash, Mario Kart, Splatoon, whatever, and a lot of those users are going to want to have the definitive experience in terms of the internet connection.
Right.
Well, the last little bit I have here on the Switch unit itself is that a portion of the patent essentially talks about a sleep mode for the system, which I didn't really think about myself, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense considering going out and about, got to do something, put in a sleep mode, and go do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, in thinking about this more now, like we saw at the Game Award, or not the Game Awards, on Jimmy Fallon, when Reggie took the system we took the Switch out of the dock, it looked like he had to like unpause the game or press some kind of button to start playing it on the handheld. And I would bet you is if you don't press anything within maybe 30 seconds to a minute or two, it automatically goes into sleep mode. So you pull it out, if you don't press anything for a few seconds, it automatically enters sleep mode, then you can resume later on. And what's cool is, I'm hoping that this is a true sleep mode and not just a, shutting down. Because it would be awesome just to be able to resume exactly where you left off at any time.
I mean, honestly, Nintendo should this is something the Switch should have anyway, but Nintendo hopefully is taking inspiration from the way Sony does things in the PS4, because the PS4's rest mode and suspending gameplay features are so good. I mean, you can power down the PS4 enough to put it into rest mode and then turn it back on and start and resume playing FF15, for example, right from where you left off without having to reload your game. And it's such a useful and convenient feature that I really hope Nintendo's going to be taking a page from the PlayStation book in terms of whatever sleep mode functionality the Switch is going to have.
Right.
Yeah, just being able to come back even after how long and jump right back into your game, no worries. It's I'm still getting used to it, honestly, because it is just so immediate. Like, oh yeah, I don't have to wait for the game to load. It's just there.
Especially with the rumored, with the potentially low battery life. Like, you don't want the thing to shut off on you while you're midway through a dungeon and have to restart from the beginning, right?
That is definitely true.
So it should automatically go into sleep mode, conserve what low battery it has, and then you can just pick it up when you get a chance to recharge it. Or plug it in back home.
Yeah, I mean, especially because of the Switch's nature as a hybrid device, having this kind of robust sleep mode almost seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
like, not even like a cool feature to have.
No,
it's necessary. You need it in something like this. So
Right.
yeah.
That pretty much covers it for the Switch unit itself, but there's still a lot, and actually most of it is dealing with the Joy-Con controllers themselves and what they're capable of. So one of the first things we have here is that it shows 2 full Joy-Cons or 4 half Joy-Cons being connected at once for split-screen gameplay. And that's really cool. Like, how often do you see split-screen gameplay anymore?
I like how in one of the patents, it literally shows, a 4-way split screen. It's like, I like that you can do it. Are you really going to do that on a 6-inch screen?
I know,
playing
right?
with, a 2-inch screen in Mario Kart or something?
Yeah.
Didn't people do that with GoldenEye with the tiny TVs and doing 4-player?
Yeah, but at a minimum, you had a 13-inch TV back in the day, not 6 inches.
Not these days. Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
I don't know. I mean, I like the fact that you can connect up to 4 of these at once. Potentially that's 4 different people playing at the same time, or 2 people using 2 sets of Joy-Cons. So, I mean, yeah, that's good. I love that you can potentially play 4 players on a single screen, albeit split screen may not be that great, but, Smash Brothers or something of that nature would work fine.
My only potential red flag moment here is that you can only have 2 full Joy-Cons, not 4 full Joy-Cons, which is interesting just because, prior Nintendo systems have allowed you to connect 4 fully featured controllers to the console at once. So I do wonder if this could lead to situations where your multiplayer options are somewhat limited when wanting to play with 4 players.
It does sound like, either the games would have to be designed to use only half of the controller, one of the left or right sides, or you need, the Pro controllers, for instance, to fill in for those other 2 players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to that trailer, we did have that scene where 2 people were on each screen playing that basketball game.
Oh,
in
true.
order to do that, so you could link, just basically having to link the switches together in order to make use of a full 4-person multiplayer match or whatever it might be.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they reconcile that in terms of, various controller options for, multiple players in the Switch. Because one thing, even if the messaging wasn't all that great, one thing I think the Wii U did pretty well was giving multiple players so many different control options to use, whether it's from, the Wii era or Wii U specific controllers. So I'll be curious to see how Nintendo deals with this with the Switch.
You're actually kind of raising a good point, because on the one hand, yeah, that was good. On the other hand, it was unfortunate it had to even be that way.
Yeah.
Because the fact that there were so many options just made it confusing, especially with different games requiring different controllers. That was just kind of a mess. So I'm glad that it seems like we're getting a clean break here. But on the other hand, it's not a clean break if, as you are touching on, if we still need 2 different sets of controllers with the Joy-Cons and the Pro controllers. So, yeah, I mean, in that sense, it is a little bit disappointing that it seems like you won't be able to use 4 sets of Joy-Con controllers, which I guess makes sense. I haven't kept up with Bluetooth technology the last few years.
Right.
But I do know one of the limits of it is, or before at least, was I think it could only link up to 8 or to 7 devices at a time, counting the base unit, so, being 8. But since the base acts as 1, that would mean 7 controllers. And with each Joy-Con potentially, acting as its own Bluetooth device, I could see that, producing issues, but...
It just makes me wonder what kind of combinations are possible. Like,
Yeah.
can you have, 2 full Joy-Cons and 2 Switch Pro controllers, or, 1 full Joy-Con and 2 half Joy-Cons in the Switch Pro controller? Like, that's what it's making me think about. It's a little crazy, but
This is making my tired brain hurt, Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah, tech will do that to you. Trying to figure all this stuff out. But no, I agree that it is an interesting situation. Like, it's nice that just having 2 full Joy-Cons allows up to 4 people to play at once. But it also, like, we've seen how small those are. It might not be the most comfortable situation. Right. So you probably would prefer to have either a full Joy-Con or a Pro controller. And that's where the issues are going to come in.
I have a solution for all this, because obviously this isn't really a concern when you're playing, out on the go, right? You're already playing on a compromised screen. I don't mean that to be, I don't mean that to be offensive, but like, you're playing on a small screen. Everyone's gonna be fine with their half Joy-Con controller. When you go back home, though, what you do is you plug in your Wii U GameCube adapter, and then everyone else plays with GameCube controllers, which you probably already own if you're a self-respecting gamer.
Except don't they only work with Smash?
On Wii U. We don't know if it'll be.
That's what I'm saying. You bake that. You bake that support into the system itself on an OS level. Every game supports GameCube controller. Bam.
That's true.
Perfect solution.
I do like that idea, but I also know at the same time that if I get people over to play Mario Kart or whatever couch multiplayer, I at least am not going to want to be the one having to use a Joy-Con sideways. I'm going to want to be using a Pro controller. So it does make me wonder what's going to be supported and what combinations are going to work.
We'll see. 1 month, not even a month.
I know.
Yeah, you're getting less than a month.
Yep.
Interestingly, there's also alternate Joy-Con configurations with actual D-pads. So I don't know if it's alternate or just ideas they had and they scrapped it. They just wanted to have the patent for it. But rather than the buttons that we see for the D-pad in the, I guess, near finalized version, it is a traditional D-pad, which would mess with the idea of using a half Joy-Con as a controller and being able to use the D-pad as buttons.
So do you guys think they'll sell that optionally for people who want a D-pad for specific kinds of games? Like, will that be an optional Joy-Con version that you can purchase?
That is the big question, isn't it? Like, a lot of people have already come up with ideas of having customized Joy-Cons on that you can even attach to the system itself and either stylized or maybe make it look more like the GameCube. Or so it's not out of the question to have it like that, but I can't see it being right out of the gate being like that.
Especially when you have the Switch Pro controller, which has a D-pad anyway. So I don't really know if you need a D-pad, you can just buy a Pro controller. Although I would posit that maybe you shouldn't have to buy a Pro controller to get access to a true D-pad, but that seems to be the way Nintendo's going with this.
I don't see them being there day one, but I could absolutely see alternate Joy-Cons coming down the line. Although I don't know if there's really that much of a demand for, a D-pad specific half. Not that there's any limit on what else they could do with a alternate Joy-Con, but...
I mean, there will be, I think, for specific enthusiast gamers, such as myself, I wouldn't want to go play a platformer like Shovel Knight with D-pad buttons. Or neither would I want to play with an analog stick. No way, no how, never going to happen. But I can just get a Pro controller at the same time, so...
Yeah. But if you're playing out of the house, though, then you'd want that D-pad.
That's true as well. So then maybe there is kind of a market. Maybe it's one of those things where they'll only make them available through Nintendo's online web store or something.
Man, I could just imagine having just a bucket full of 100 different kinds of Joy-Cons.
God, trying to keep track of them all.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I can't wait for the guitar accessory. We just strap the entire Switch to...
So now you're making me think of Guitar Hero 3DS where you put that, thing
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I did too,
Guitar
the
Hero
grip
on
thing.
tour.
Yeah. Jeez.
Wow, that was a thing that happened.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Boy, well, the next thing about the Joy-Cons at the patent show is that the shoulder buttons on the Joy-Cons are near the Joy-Con connection point on the left and right, which we've seen that before. It's not that surprising, honestly. But it also seems to confirm that the right Joy-Con has an IR sensor near the bottom, making it more like a pointer for the the Wii remote, which is also something that Laura Kate Dale had in her rumors from her sources and all that. So it seems to confirm that rumor that she put out. What do you guys think about having the IR sensor at the bottom rather than the top, which Just seems weird.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't quite get the reasoning behind that, because especially if you're meant to use it as a pointer device, but maybe you're not. Maybe they're going for something else with it. The thing I found interesting, or one of the things I found interesting about one of these diagrams with the disconnected Joy-Cons, is that with the shoulder button here, the diagram has the guy holding it and pressing the shoulder button with his thumb, not your index finger or your middle finger, as you tend to associate with shoulder buttons on other controllers. So the way he's holding it, it's almost as if he's completely ignoring the face buttons and the analog stick and just pressing the shoulder button with his thumb, which almost completely changes the idea of that controller. It's very interesting.
Oh man, you're right. It's almost like it reminds me of the scene in Terminator 2 where the guy is holding the bomb to prevent it from going off, right? So like if you release it, maybe the switch explodes.
I mean, it almost kind of reminds me of the way that you'd hold a nunchuck controller, or even like a PlayStation Move in a VR space where you're moving. That's kind of what it reminds me of, the way that the diagram is gripping the controller.
You're kind of getting ahead of ourselves now with that Move comparison.
I guess, yeah. I mean, am I? Oh, I see what you mean. For the next
yeah. Well, I guess let's go ahead and get into that then,
sure.
Because another thing from the patent is that both Joy-Cons have rumble motors and motion control.
I like
no
it.
surprise.
Yeah, that's something we wondered initially, and the more I thought about it, the more likely I thought it seemed, and it makes sense. Like with Splatoon especially, you're gonna, or any of the number of motion control games Nintendo's made over the years. I think it's good to have that support. I think you can do some cool things. Hopefully the technology's even been improved since the Wii Remote. So yeah, I have nothing negative to say about that. Like the more the Joy-Cons can do, the better.
In addition to that, it also has gyro support, and I saw so many people, as soon as they saw it had gyro support, they're like, oh, thank God, I don't have to worry about how to play Splatoon on Switch anymore. Because that was the big worry with a lot of Splatoon fans was, Andre, like, I can't play that game without like the motion controls, like the little like tilting and all that to try to get that accuracy. That is just how you play it. Yep. It feels so natural and works so well. And potentially not having that in Splatoon Switch was kind of like, how's this going to work? But seeing that the Joy-Cons do have this, and we could probably assume that the Pro Controller would have it as well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, the more I thought about it, the more I figured there was no way Nintendo was just going to suddenly drop gyroscopic controls, rumble, motion. Like, why would they spend so much time building these features up? And really, in the case of Rumble, making it kind of part of the gaming vernacular for all consoles. Why would they suddenly just drop all that now? It doesn't make sense. And Rumble specifically, Rumble's one of those things that, like, you don't think about being all that important, but when it's taken away, you actually really miss it. Like, I remember the original DualShock 3 didn't have rumble built in, and the 6-axis controller, and like it was such a big deal, and you wouldn't think that it was because it's just rumble, but it actually adds a lot to the game in a passive way. So I'm really glad to see that. I didn't think they would, but I'm glad to see that Nintendo didn't drop rumble to cut costs.
Well, I think the rumble actually is even more important when it comes to gyro or motion control support. Like, because it helps sell the illusion that you have this one-to-one control with whatever's happening in the game.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so that's actually what excites me. Because I usually if I turn off rumble, it doesn't bother me in a standard game. But in a motion control game, that's when I really miss it, because it really does help like sell that illusion. So also, I mean, beyond that, like it helps provide good feedback, like actual feedback of what's happening in the game if you actually made a connection with something, for instance. So, and
even having that motion control, like they can, as long as they have that, they can easily do Skyward Sword HD if they wanted to.
Great point. I mean, not even beyond that. If you want Wii games in general, you're going to need some kind of motion controls on this. So if you want to have Wii games on the Virtual Console, you need this here. All
the elements are there that you can just easily use the Joy-Cons instead and get the same experience.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, like, what is impressive is just how many multi-use scenarios there seem to be for the Joy-Cons. Like it can be used on the Switch itself, or separated from it. You can hold it horizontally. You can use it as a multiplayer controller. Like, it's really exciting how much you're doing with these. And I want to touch on real quick the shoulder buttons, which is something that you can kind of see in the initial trailer, but was something that was overlooked by many people, even us included, I believe. That's cool. Like it's a small thing, but that's 2 more buttons, which is a big deal, because that should make it that you should be able to make most any multiplayer experience work on it. Whereas without those, that might have been a lot harder. So that really is cool to see that they crammed them in there onto what is a really tiny controller.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cleverly designed. Hopefully it's comfortable. I guess that's the only remaining question. It's just how comfortable it is in your hand, especially in the different configurations. But just knowing that it has all this functionality in there makes you feel good about the backwards compatibility as far as virtual console games and being able to experience the games as they're meant to be played.
You know, it does make you think of one thing, and that is really this only concerns fighting game fans. But Nintendo's known for their kind of wacky controllers, and the Switch is no different, as we're seeing. I do wonder if this means that, those of you out there who are potentially waiting for like a Street Fighter V or Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite announcement for the Switch eventually, I kind of feel like just the controller alone means that's never going to happen. Like, take out all the stuff like power and, functionality and whatever, but I feel like this weird controller by itself almost guarantees that there's not going to be a traditional fighting game scene. Unless they start releasing like arcade sticks for the Switch. Then that's completely different.
But you have the grip.
You have the grip and the Pro Controller, which would solve that thing. And if you're going to do serious competitors are not going to use the JoyCons in like a sideways view. They're going to have a Pro Controller.
I don't think they'd even use a Pro Controller, to be honest. I think it would have to be a stick or something. But yeah, it's just kind of an idle thing I just started thinking about. But fighting game players, other than Smash players, because we have our GameCube controllers, of course, are so specific about their controllers. I just kind of makes me think about that.
Well, I think that's more of a micro issue compared to the more
totally.
macro issue.
It's not huge. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, the macro issue is getting third-party games at all. So.
Right. That's very true. Yeah.
One other little thing for the Joy-Con is that NFC is also in the right Joy-Con. There's a lot of stuff squeezed into the right Joy-Con, to say the least. But honestly, this is not a surprise. Just the fact that we saw Amiibos around there, the fact that Breath of the Wild does have Amiibo support. There was no way they were not going to carry that over to the Switch version because, it's just not going to happen.
I am really curious to see how Amiibo continue to do, because this year seems to have been the death knell for a lot of the Toys to Life category, with pretty much everything dropping out, even rumored to be Skylanders, I believe. So, I don't think that's been confirmed yet, right? Yeah.
No, it's just rumored right now.
Okay.
I'm really curious to see the sales numbers on the new Zelda series Amiibo, because those are the first Amiibo to come out after kind of that Amiibo craze. I think the Kirby series Amiibo came out on the tail end of it. But Zelda, really, other than being a fan of these characters and wanting figures of those characters, there literally is no reason to buy the Zelda 30th anniversary Amiibo. So I'm kind of curious to see how that shakes out for them.
Oh, I'll put it this way. I've been to a few stores and I have seen every single one.
Yeah, I have too.
Maybe not a lot of them, but they're there. And every time I look at them, it's like, do I want this? And I'm like, I don't want more crap on my shelves. I'm not going to use it. I'm just like, they're cool, but I don't have that push to get it.
Well, plus they've already sold us most of the Nintendo characters you could possibly ever want in figure form with the Smash line. So it's kind of like, do I need another Amiibo of Toon Link or another Amiibo of well, I guess there is no 8-bit Link or Ocarina of Time Link, but I mean, again, when you can't use those in a game currently, and even when you can, it's not like the functionality is all that great. Is the appeal there?
Yeah, that's what makes it really tricky and unknown. And the thing is, I've seen Ness in stores, I've seen Pit in stores, Falco in stores. Like, they are becoming more common, they're out there. So I'm not quite sure if that's Nintendo just providing better or nobody's really buying them, these restocks. It's hard for me to really say for sure. And
well, given how often we see Nintendo have supply issues, I think we can infer what that means.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It just tells me that all the people who wanted to scramble for those characters, now they have them, and everyone else is kind of like, who's this winged guy in this Nintendo figure packaging? This looks stupid. I don't want one. I feel like people who want Pit and like want Ness and those other specific characters, they have them, and now nobody else really wants them, right?
Launching with Smash Brothers or the Smash Brothers Amiibo is both the best and worst thing they could have done. Because if they wanted success out of the gate, that's how you do it. You throw out all your biggest characters in a relatively short period of time. The problem is they've exhausted them. They've done all their big characters. What's left but the has-beens and B-tier characters and repeats.
Well, if you go on GameFAQs, you'll hear a lot about Daisy. Although I guess she finally has an Amiibo now too.
Yeah, Daisy has her Amiibo.
Daisy's D tier.
Yeah, right. If that even.
That's true. Oh man, we're gonna get some hate for that. Jesus.
Oh yeah.
I didn't say a word. Go after them.
Well, how about this? She's Tomboy Peach tier, which is whatever you want it to be. That can be S tier if that's really important to you, or it can be like K tier.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. As far as these Toys to Life games, who knows what's going on? Because with Disney Infinity going down and Skylanders potentially out of the game, the only one really left is, as far as an actual Toy to Life game, is Lego Dimensions, which did just release a bunch of new ones, and I honestly have no idea how well that is selling.
I don't feel like it's too late though. I mean, and obviously Nintendo doesn't either because they're building NFC into the Switch. But I feel like if Nintendo really put their heads together and designed a really compelling game based around Amiibo, I think it could be really exciting, and I think people would want to buy Amiibo for it. But there isn't that software yet.
Yeah, that is the weakness right now. The weakness of something like Skylanders is that how many different Skylanders games have there been? How many different figures have they put out now? It's just, it's the common Activision problem of just saturation.
Yeah.
Well, continuing on with the Joy-Con controller, we actually found out that the grip controller is basically a battery pack and how you charge the Joy-Cons. And the Joy-Con LED will display both what your player number is and the remaining battery power. So I think that's really clever. Having that central thing, charging the grip controller, and that grip controller by extension charges the Joy-Cons. I like that. That's really clever to me.
Yeah, I like that too. Now I think the grip controller or the Joy-Con grip showing which player number you are. We already knew that. I think that was one of the first things we noticed in the original trailer. But I am curious as to how it shows the battery level, because do we see any other display elements on the Joy-Con grip?
It could just be like the Wii Remote, where it uses the same lights, where when you first turn it on, it shows a battery light
sure.
before indicating the player.
That could be it.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Mystery solved. Courtesy of the analysis machine.
Nice.
There you go.
The deduction machine.
Deduction. The off-brand model.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about the grip controller. I guess it's making me wonder is how necessary is that to be the case? How long is the Joy-Con's battery life going to be? Because I guess I didn't think about it. I felt like you remove it from the Switch and hopefully they'd last a while by themselves before you connect it to the Switch again when it's in dock mode to recharge them. So I guess it's for those who won't use a Switch outside the house. So you charge the grip independently, and then with the Joy-Cons attached.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. So
I'm kind of wondering what kind of use the Joy-Con grip will see if you are a Switch Pro Controller user, because at least for me, my Wii U use habits are to kind of automatically just default to the Pro Controller, unless I'm playing a game that really uses the gamepad well, like the Zelda Wind Waker HD, for example, something like that, Splatoon, that you have to use it. But yeah, otherwise, I kind of just default to the Pro Controller. So if you do that with the Switch, will you even need to use the Joy-Con grip for anything ever?
Yeah, if you have a Pro Controller, I see no reason why you need to.
Yeah.
Except for 2 players or more.
Well, yeah, for I'm talking about the single player experience,
right.
But for a second player for sure. I guess maybe it's just there for people who kind of want a traditional-ish controller without having to shell out for a Pro Controller.
That's the most likely scenario, honestly.
Yeah.
The Joy-Cons look pretty. They did a good job of. These seem like actual controllers really when used with a grip, minus the D-pad. So yeah, it makes sense. The Switch is such an interesting device. I just really wanted to go hands-on with it and feel how it actually feels, and so I can fully start making sense of everything.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody desires. Just seeing it all in action, how it all fits together, exactly what it does. We're getting an idea, but it's one thing to look at all these patents. It's another thing to have Nintendo be, okay, this is what it does. This is how it works. This is what you can expect.
Well, and actually that's what's kind of exciting. The patent, I'm glad the patent came out. It gave us a better idea of what to expect. It basically just reconfirmed a lot of the rumors, and lines up with our expectations. But now what's exciting is how Nintendo is going to make use of all these features. How does it all come together? That's what I wanted to see, because it's one thing to read an itemized list. It's another to see how Nintendo's actually using this stuff, well, especially as it pertains to the IR port. I'm still very confused by how exactly they're going to use that. Is it actually a pointer? Why is it at the bottom? Do you hold it upside down to use it? It's so many questions.
Yeah, and it does make me really wonder about Switch compatibility vis-a-vis, Wii games that use the pointer, like Metroid Prime 3 or, Trauma Team or whatever. I am curious to see if the IR pointer is going to have any sort of compatibility functionality with those games. Mm-hmm. Or games like that.
it's hard to say. I mean, we've seen no sense of a. I mean, speaking of the pointer, we've seen no indication of a sensor bar, which the old pointers utilize. So, is it able to do that without the sensor bar? Exactly, what is it doing with that? I'm not sure.
I've heard some speculate that maybe it involves a screen or something above the screen. But yeah, I mean, that I don't see how that would work either unless you're using the Switch itself as a screen. If you're using it at home, that wouldn't quite work. So you wouldn't need like a separate sensor bar. And it's possible it's possible that they'll include that as well, and they just haven't shown it off in any of the trailers or videos or pictures rather.
One thing I really want to know more about, and that we haven't really seen a whole lot on yet, is the Switch Virtual Console. Like, obviously we know, at least we think we know, Nerd is developing it, which is great news for us. But beyond that, and we know GameCube's probably coming, but beyond that, like, is Nintendo really going back to the drawing board, and are they going to give us an updated pricing model? Like, I really hope that they have really learned something from the Wii U Virtual Console's relative failure. Like, it really wasn't that great, and I just really want them to go back and kind of change from the ground up what we see, or what we think of when we think of the Virtual Console.
That sounds like a great thing to discuss in our What We Want in 2017 piece.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely, because I can see it. Hopefully they learn, but I don't know. Based on the whole upgrade model that they're already using, not too confident on that fact.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the all these patents and news we got coming out about the Switch?
Just that it's almost here. It's finally almost time to know what this thing is all about, and really kind of just stop hearing about it, stop reading about it, and stop getting secondhand information, and just finally play the thing for ourselves. Because not only is the New York event happening, there's actually like a tour going around, and it's coming to LA in February, so that's pretty exciting too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they're sending out fan invites for My Nintendo people to check it out and see how it goes. So they are doing an aggressive push, which is nice to see.
Man, those events are going to be busy. I have a feeling.
Oh yes,
they definitely will be.
Busy. I mean, again, like I'm glad this came out. Like, it just makes me want to see the full thing more now. And that's only a few weeks away. I mean, it'll be here in no time. Like, it's practically Christmas, and then it's like just a couple weeks after that. So this is great. Like, when you reduce time to that way, it's like around the corner.
No kidding. I mean,
true.
For me personally, it feels like time is flying.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, it's going to be in our hands in no time. Like, I feel like it's going to seem that way. Like, it's like once that event hits, it's going to seem like nothing when we're actually playing it in our house.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Like, I think even from now to then, like to January 12th, is going to be nothing. Like, it seems like, it's a month away or less than a month, but how long? I mean, we found out about this event in October, right? And it's already like only a month away, and I just feel like it's not going to be as long as we think it is. And Christmas already goes so quickly because there's so much to do, or the holidays, I should say. It's I think it's going to be here before we know it.
Oh yeah. That's definitely going to happen, and I just hopefully we don't have a NES Classic situation on our hands where it's just impossible to find these things. So.
Oh, I guess the hope is for Nintendo it will be, regardless of however many they ship. Because I do remember the Wii U not being particularly hard to find not too long after launch. So, and for better or worse, that does kind of send a message. Like, if you walk into a store and you see a pile of Wii U's or systems sitting there, it's like, wait, is this something I want to invest in if no one seems to care about it?
Good point.
That's true. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is that, as long as Nintendo can differentiate it from the Wii U and get that message across properly to consumers, I think it's got a real shot.
I just want to be able to get one. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
We're not all lucky like Andre and getting the system sent to us.
Hey, well, that's not a guarantee yet this time either. You never know, so...
Yeah, that's very true.
I say, Derek and I think we just need to have a party at Andre's place for when if we get a Switch review unit, let's have a party and let's just go, let's all fly to San Francisco and do it. Like a week, we'll do like a week-long sabbatical, we won't leave Andre's apartment, and we'll just spend a week inside his apartment covering and playing Switch stuff.
Oh, hold on. So sabbatical, if you're here, I'm going to put you to work.
No, it's a work sabbatical, but it's, we're still playing the Switch, so it is a quote-unquote work sabbatical.
We gotta test out all those JoyCon configurations.
Exactly. You need us there for that, so.
Yeah, you're right. That actually would be fun if we actually were all together to cover the Switch when it comes out. So.
That would be super cool.
Yeah. Maybe. although I doubt it.
Wow, what a downer, Derek. What a way to end the discussion. Instead of like, well, maybe it'll happen.
I'm just realistic. I know how this goes.
I know.
Actually, you might get a chance to get it. I'm all the way on the East Coast, so...
I know.
We
I'm already
can
here.
bust
Screw
Ash up
me.
here for like $30.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you say bust Ash up here?
It's a bus Ash up.
I heard bust. I'm like, okay, well, either way, I never want to take that bus again. Oh my god, that would be a good story for the podcast, wouldn't it?
Dude, no, it's always a good story to talk about how terrible Megabus is as a company. F Megabus. Don't ever use them.
Never use Megabus.
Ash, you weren't there for it. That was already a topic on the podcast.
Oh, was it? Okay, well, that happened to me. So my wife had to pick me up on the side of the freeway after I took a Megabus. So don't take Megabus ever.
Yeah, it's always a good time to just tell how it is with Megabus. Like, with my dying breath, I can be like, don't take Megabus.
Yeah. Really, don't do it.
They load up your corpse on a Megabus, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
All right, I think that covers it for our Switch patent discussion and our anti-Megabus statement. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on the Switch and other things gaming too. Until next time, bye.